going on? Hold on. Better. That's how I like to do it. I like to bring in a whole bunch of noise to start. I love that I tested that earlier and didn't retest when we got started. Anyways, guys, what's going on? It is back. It is time for Truth Will Set You Free Tuesdays. We've got Barb in the building. We've got Kaecey in the building. The echo effects were part of it, Chris. I don't know if you know that. And of course, Barb, Dave, Great American Syndicate, artist formerly known as American Snippets. We are excited to be back. I think that it sounds like we got to start with that sound effect every single time. People actually like it. The world was garbage, stayed garbage, but we're going to talk about some positivity somewhat, and then we're going to talk about the news. The new format's going to be a little bit different in terms of this is a 1 hour show. We will not go over by more than 2 minutes max. Otherwise, I will just chop it because this is meant to be a news show. We're going to talk about 5 or 6 topics an episode. We're going to have a little bit of feedback. We're going to move on afterwards. We're also going to look in the comments. I love the idea of having a live show. That's why Truth Will Set You Free was so fun before. And it's good to be back. Please do us a favor. Share this out. I'm going to bring up our co-hosts. First off, Kaecey, it's been a while. How you doing, brother?
Fantastic. I am going to call you out. No, that was not planned. And no, we don't need to start out that way every show.
That was terrible. I don't know how I did it before because I was using that for bringing the other videos up. Anyway, Kaecey's rocking the Awake Not Woke hat, so this is going to be the ad for that. If you like the gear, we've got a new line of stuff. Live each day like it's 9/12/01, which was the day we all came together. There's our positivity show. That's pretty much all we got for today's news on that. AwakeNotWokeStore.com. Use Awake for 15% off. The Unveed Lives Matter with the full word spelled out is on there as well. Anything going on in your life, Kaecey McCasterson?
Just trying to survive through all of this garbage that we have today, but doing well.
Love it. Well, let's bring up the rest of the crew. Excited for them to, of course, be a part of this, and we are a part of them as well. So Dave Brown, it's probably very demeaning that I like to, in my head, I say Dave Allen, which is super awkward because it really is. It's going to be Barb. Is it going to be Barb Brown, or are you keeping the Allen, Barb?
No, I'll be keeping the Allen.
Oof. Dave, I don't know if that's going to work out.
It'll work out just fine.
Yeah. Homewrecker, Anthony.
Oh, come on. Nope. What's going on with you guys? You guys, we have a lot going on as a group, but what's going on with you two?
Yeah, so I mean, let's get some of the people up to speed because we're sharing this live on the Great American Syndicate page. So Anthony and Kaecey, we've known for some time. Truth Will Set You Free used to be Anthony's and Kaecey's show here on Facebook Live, and then we decided to bring a bunch of different shows into the Great American Syndicate. We have Barb's Flex Your Freedom podcast. We have Anthony's Blunt Force discussion. And then the third part of the lineup is the Truth Will Set You Free show, which we're shooting live right together under this new umbrella for the first time tonight. So that's super exciting.
Love it. I'm actually trying to figure out what I did wrong last time and make sure that doesn't happen again. But who knows? Anyways, Barb, what's going on in your lovely wine-filled life?
Yeah, well, that's what you get when you make me do this shit at 8 o'clock. But I'm enjoying our new blended family here on Truth Will Set You Free. And yeah, let's just lock and load and see if I can add any value tonight.
Well, we can't expect too much. All right. Well, we got about 50 people watching. Not bad for a comeback episode. I think now that Facebook has made some changes, some of our lock is actually gone. So I think you guys can share it. I think I don't know. Somebody said that, I don't know. Somebody said that, no, you still think this, Kaecey? Thank you for being negative. I appreciate you.
I can't do a live on my page for the life of me because Facebook sucks. So,
well, you're also suspended for like 87 days. All right, so we're going to get into it. This is how it's going to work. We will mention some advertisers when we need a break. And also, of course, Dave and Barb, on the first break, you're going to talk about the Great American Syndicate, just so you know. If you didn't get the memo, that's the commercial on our first little break. And then we're going to talk the news. We're going to get into topic number 1, which I think a lot of you guys might know that Edward Snowden was granted citizenship in Russia. But the bigger news out of Russia is that White House is warning of catastrophic consequences over nuclear weapons. So the White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, he does such a great job, on Sunday issued a warning to the Kremlin following recent statements by top Russian officials regarding the possible use of nuclear weapons. Russia has talked about the fact they're backed into a corner at this point. This war has gone on much longer than they expected. They're running out of resources. Meanwhile, we're funding the living shnikes out of Ukraine. And Putin issued a directive to partially mobilize Russia's reserve forces. By the way, I have a friend that I spoke with today whose brother has been in and out of prison his whole life, lives in Russia, finally got himself cleaned up. He's got a family, he's got a child, and now against the regime's he's against the regime, but he has to now serve in their draft. It's really screwed up what's going on there, and people are finally starting to rebel against Putin, which is pretty interesting to watch. But Putin said this is not a bluff during his speech, and those who try to blackmail us with nuclear weapons should know that we can turn and point them right back at them. But if nukes are used, the United States will respond, Sullivan said. Didn't elaborate. Who wants to take this bad boy first?
Kaecey does.
Okay, I'll take it. I'm going to have probably a little bit of a different spin than most, but we'll see. When it comes to this, I see this as a very interesting thing the media is putting on. The media is putting on a presence that, our government is powerful and we're standing up to Russia. No, you're not standing up to Russia. Russia's not going to use any nukes. There's like less than a 5% chance it's even going to happen, because you even had China and India telling Russia to chill out. You've had other countries come to Russia and be like, you need to stop. Like, don't even try. There's nothing going to happen that Russia has this confidence that they have any backing. And so I don't see anything other than the White House administration and the government is trying to utilize this as propaganda to be able to give them confidence that people are actually going to vote for them in November. That's what I see this being played out as.
Barb, what do you think?
I think just like the majority of us who don't really, none of us have the inside scoop, right? This is all speculation. And I'm going to just straight up say that I am most likely the least educated out of the four of us on this topic. So I'm not going to pretend to know shit. I just think that I've heard so much fear mongering over the past couple years and I've heard so much garbage from all avenues of information that I don't really believe a word anybody says anymore. So the answer is, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I think this is just more stuff, just sending people in a tizzy. It's just adding to the uncertainty. I think the more unrest and uncertainty and anxiety that can be created in this country, the better it is for people to slip things through. So I don't know if this is all, if there's any substance to it or not. I'm not there with Putin. I'm not in Ukraine. I'm not a politician. I don't know the nuances of it, but I know that I am just I think I'm almost a little bit immune to all the prophecies of doom, because I'm just sick of them.
Yeah, I mean, and Dave in a sec. So the way that I've seen a lot of the reporters in Ukraine, and again, we're funding something that we should not be funding anymore, and we're using false information by our own media, by our own news, by their news. That Ukraine is, from what I understand from independent reporters, except for in some of the areas that are still fighting, the cities are back to normal. They're rebuilding. They're going out to bars, restaurants. They're walking the streets. It's safe again. And for some odd reason, we're still funneling what I would consider Biden blood money, our government's blood money, into Ukraine in order to keep that pushing. And then at the same time, there's just no good way to look at what Russia's doing anymore either. So it's really weird to look at. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, right? I mean, Putin absolutely said what he said. There's no question that he said that it's not a bluff, that he could do this. But I think his back is against the wall. Like I've been someone too, America first, like we should be taking care of our homeland first. We have plenty of homeless veterans here, homeless people who are not eating, who are starving. I mean, a lot of problems here at home that we could be focusing on. And we sent, $50 billion now overseas to Ukraine. But on the other side of the coin, like you have to ask yourself, well, has a lot of that funding actually helped push Putin in a really bad spot where he has to come out and say things like this that are really explosive and fear mongering? Because you remember, like with the banks, too big to fail. Like, I think that's the position he's taken right now, that he's too big to have this be a failure. But at the end of the day, to Kaecey's point, the nuclear thing will never happen. It's a great thing to put out there, but the consequences of actually doing that are going to be so much worse than him actually losing the war and people pushing back on him, because it's going to be devastating to his country. I mean, the whole world is already against him. Times that, 10x if he actually does something like the nuclear weapon. And if he actually does that, it's going to open up a whole floodgate for rogue nations thinking that they could use nuclear weapons in a conventional conflict to kind of gain an edge. And that's a dangerous place that I don't think the world can actually come back from.
What I don't like is the fact that Russian citizens are now vocally against him. And that's why I think it's dangerous. Interestingly enough, on Crowder today, they were actually discussing like 50-50. They're not convinced that he won't actually activate nukes. I think that's drastic. I think it's more 10%, but 10% is still 1 out of 10. I think that before, at least he had his people, although they did not love him, they obeyed him. And now his own people are standing up, which he's been backed in a corner by the world, and now his own people, which I think is pretty scary. So
I think the draft thing was kind of like, that's kind of crazy. People, like Russian citizens, they're seeing thousands and thousands of Russian men and women coming home from war in body bags right now. And now he's like, hey, we need to mobilize so we can send more of you into battle. Like, it's not a good place to be as a leader.
Yeah. And look, I think that and it's interesting you said that, Chris. I think that gas prices they're about to go up with 6 or 7 days going back up again. We're getting close to the midterms. They're going to utilize what happens in Russia. They're going to utilize this statement and say, well, it's Russian oil prices. And I think it's going to be an issue.
Well, they will, but it's also dangerous. We have to remember our government is not making very sound, logical decisions right now. And so their solution for gas prices is release oil reserves. And they're going to just pump out more of our oil reserves to keep that price down, or to slow the increase down, which we shouldn't be utilizing. And that's where a lot of things can go wrong with this administration and stuff that's going on, and why 2022 is so important to participate in voting.
Absolutely.
That's the thing that's going to drive you mad. Last thing is the strategic oil reserves is supposed to be for emergencies, right? And high gas prices is not an emergency. If you want to treat it like an emergency, and then it should be, let's drill and pump more oil and be energy independent and put all hands on deck to reduce, prices and make us energy independent. Like the strategic reserve, especially when we end up selling it to other countries on top of it, like this is a bad use for that.
Yeah. I mean, it is an emergency if you're a Democrat and the midterms are coming up. All right. Give me before I have you guys talk about Great American Syndicate, and then we're going to go to the Italian Prime Minister. I want to test this. If it starts to blare again, forgive me. Let's try 1, 2, 3. Check.
Ah, that'll wake everyone up. Wake those puppies up on the couch behind Dave. We just got them to sleep.
So unfortunate.
That's what it sounded like when NASA hit the asteroid yesterday.
Oh, real quick, how did that go? Did it work the way they wanted it to?
I think so. I don't know.
I'm sure they'll tell us it did. All right, Dave and Barb, talk about Great American Syndicate for a minute, how people can join, what it means, all that good stuff.
Go for it, Dave Brown.
You want me to go for it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we started the Great American Syndicate because we wanted to hang out with, network with, and surround ourselves with like-minded people, patriots, if you will, who care about the direction that this country is going. People who believe in America, that America is great, believe in America's core values. We're all about faith, family, and freedom, self, family, community, and country. And we want to surround ourselves and be a part of other people who believe in those same things and care about the direction of our country and the future of our country, especially for our children. And both Barb and I both have kids, and so we're taking the stand because we think it's important to stand up and speak out, but more so, I think, for our future generations. And so we created this community, this page, events, a podcast, these shows, all around building a community of like-minded folks, like whoever's listening. So that's pretty much it. That's what I got.
So yeah, and I'll just toss into, it's more than that. We are purpose-driven. We are solution-oriented, right? We're all about a place where we can get together and just talk real stuff, where we can support each other's work, we can support each other's businesses, we can learn from each other, grow from each other. You got a family problem, we're going to throw out family resources. Like, our community is a community, right? So you come on in our group and you say, hey, oh my gosh, I'm having this issue in my family, let's say. Then there's going to be a community member out there who has experience or has a resource or knows someone who has the experience or has a resource to connect you and put that together for you and connect those dots with you. That's what we're doing. Your life is a direct reflection of the people and keep in contact with and have in your network, right? So this is a network of just the best of the best in us, because we all care. We all want to do our part to be better for ourselves and our families and our community, because we know that's what our country needs, right? And it all culminates in our Great American Summit, which I imagine we're going to talk about later. But we had our first one last January. We're already planning our second one. Looks like it's going to be in June back in Texas. And that's our live event where we can actually meet in person people that we're chatting with all year, in this community and through these Zoom talks and stuff. And that's where we bring everything to life, and you walk away with that just full of new resources, new connections, new networks. And our Great American Syndicate membership, when you buy the lifetime membership that we're about to launch here very shortly, you get free tickets to the Great American Summit with that.
Boom goes the diamond. That'll be in Dallas. Do we still have that GAS BTC link, or should I just put join Great American Syndicate? You guys see the bottom thing going by, right? I might just fix that. I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah, that's a little too alphabety.
Well, do we still have that same link that we had a while ago? Just forget it. I'm just gonna make it super simple. Sports effects.
Yeah. So to build on Barb's point, we have a whole membership platform for our community, a members only platform. It's almost like our own individual social network where you can interact with other members. So it's just basically a community filled of, strong people that can push all of us, educate us, support us, and actually all help us grow. One thing I think we've noticed is there's a lot of the conservative movement. There's a lot of shows and podcasts and influencers out there and events like, Turning Point USA and others. But what we found, what was lacking is there wasn't like a way to call the herd, if you will, like all of us together building a community that we can all be a part of and have an annual event that we can all network and meet and associate and figure out a way to solve some of these problems. Like, Anthony, be the change and things that he's doing on Truth Will Set You Free. Like, we want to be solution based. And so when you come into our membership area, we're going to be having trainings and special courses and things that we can use to help all of us kind of grow and push forward. So
you guys can check it out right there, greatamericansyndicate.com. Again, and this is why Barb, Dave, Kaecey, and I are all working much, much more together. So we're going to get back to news. Check that out, because again, last thing I'll say regarding it, if you're a Patreon for Truth Will Set You Free, which is actually patreon.com/BeTheChangeUSA, or Great American Syndicate member, which is how much is it per month if you're actually a member? What is the price?
$4.99.
So that, and then, or you are a Blunt Force Discussion member, you will get, when we start doing the 30-minute post shows, that's the only way you could watch those. The show will obviously always be that hour free. All right, cool. Let's go to the next topic, the whole thing that I was trying to make easy on myself, which I failed miserably. So we're going to start talking about the Italian Prime Minister. I'm going to throw up this first video first. Way easier before. I had it all set up. It was so easy. There it is. Here we go.
Italy tomorrow appear poised to make a hard right turn. The woman expected to become prime minister leads a party with roots in neo-fascism.
The hallmarks of Italian fascism, like this motto. God, fatherland, and family.
A far-right political party whose roots go back to post-World War II neo-fascists.
Far-right political party whose roots go back to post-World War II neo-fascists.
Roots in Italy's post-war fascist movement.
Roots in Italy's 20th century neo-fascist movement.
Meloni herself was a hardcore neo-fascist militant.
Stunning because of Italy's disastrous history, the last time a hard-right party rose to power.
The most far-right government in that country since Mussolini.
Most right-wing government since Mussolini.
A red flag, if there ever was one, says Edith Brooke, a renowned poet and Holocaust.
In Italy tomorrow.
Wrong one. So I'm going to really quick talk about this while I pull up the other clip. Because I think we see what they're trying to show of this woman. Just because somebody yells does not make them a neo-fascist. It's ignorance at its finest, to say the least. Let me grab this other video because I think you'll get to see her speaking a couple of years ago, what she stands for, which apparently is the same in America, that is apparently deemed a domestic terrorist or a horrific parent in many ways or another. Here we go.
Potrei farne tante altre di queste domande. A monte c'è quella che ci facciamo oggi: perché la famiglia è un nemico? Perché la famiglia fa così paura? C'è una risposta unica per tutte queste domande. Perché ci definisce, perché è la nostra identità. Perché tutto quello che ci definisce in questo tempo è un nemico. Per chi vorrebbe che non avessimo più un'identità e che fossimo solamente schiavi, consumatori perfetti. E allora è sotto attacco l'identità nazionale, è sotto attacco l'identità religiosa, è sotto attacco l'identità di genere, è sotto attacco l'identità familiare. Non devo potermi definire italiana, cristiana, donna, madre, no. Io devo essere cittadino X, genere X, genitore 1, genitore 2, devo essere un numero. Perché quando sarò solamente un numero, quando non avrò più un'identità, quando non avrò più radici, allora sarò lo schiavo perfetto in balia della grande speculazione finanziaria, il consumatore perfetto. E questa è la ragione per la quale oggi noi facciamo tanta paura. Questa è la ragione per la quale oggi questo appuntamento fa tanta paura. Perché noi non vogliamo essere dei numeri, noi siamo qui per dire che noi non siamo dei numeri, noi difenderemo il valore della persona umana, di ogni singola persona umana, perché ognuno di noi ha un codice genetico unico e irripetibile.
Love her. Absolutely love her. Dave, I'll get into it in a little bit, but what do you think? What do you think about the way that Americans are portraying her? And what do you think about the fact that, has she already won? Is it over?
Oh yeah, she won.
Yeah. What do you think of this change around the world, especially after COVID and what's going on, the way that we're viewing her in America?
Well, one, she's that's a perfect commercial for everything that we are talking about with the Great American Syndicate and what we're looking to build. It's right on point. And I think the world you're seeing a massive shift away from the far left woke globalist ideology. I think people are just fed up with it. And when you have countries like Italy and Sweden and Britain who are rich in history, I think at the core, most of those citizens are conservative. And so they've kind of let this thing kind of pass by the wayside and they kind of like just dealt with it. But then I think they really noticed between COVID lockdowns and what's actually happening right now in America, Christian-based countries like that in Europe are like, we're not going there. We're not going to go that far like what's happening in America. And we need to draw the line right now and make a change before that happens. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing. And I personally love the fact that two of the most powerful countries in the world, Great Britain and Italy, are now both run by conservative women, because I think conservative women are really going to be the force behind making the shift from what we're seeing now to getting back to family values, core values, things like that.
It's not going to be white men, because they're going to deem us all the same. So I think it's important for, some of the black female candidates that are conservative, Latinas, and then to see this going on all over the world. And
one other point, Anthony, too, like that video that you played before, like that just makes me sick. Like not only is it's just irresponsible. Like, and it's fear mongering. It's like, that's not even close to the truth. Like, do these people even know who Mussolini was and the kind of action that's not who she is. And it actually just pisses me off.
And that's why it's sick. So I've already seen the post from the lefties on this woman that this is this fascism, this white nationalist, this Nazism is spreading around the world. And they're, of course, grouping Trump and this woman together, which I can see, but adding that negative connotation and that fake bullshit is really the biggest problem, because there is U.S. citizens are going to believe this because they are so brainwashed on so many levels.
That video is made for the useful idiots. That's what I call them.
And unfortunately, they have the same voting power that we have. Barb, what do you got?
Yeah, I think a lot of what Dave said, and it's amazing how the media as a whole is so silent on the fact that there are now 2 women as prime ministers of country. This is historic, right? Where's the media on this? Where's all this women's empowerment? Where are all these women leaders that we have celebrating this? You know, remember all the people who were like cartwheeling and crying when Kamala, was on the ticket and made it. Oh my God, this is such a big thing for women, right? Where are all these women now celebrating the fact that we have 2 strong conservative women leading these big nations? Like, where are these people now? It's just so that just is, to me, is very telling as well.
Kaecey, what do you got?
No, you guys all nailed it and hit the nail on the head, and Barb capitalized on finishing it off, which is, where is the women empowerment? Where is everything that we're shamed for and all of those things? And it's nowhere. No, and it's horrible that we're allowing it to get this way, but this is just the media doing what the media will do. And it's whoever's controlling the media and whoever they want to pander to is how they're going to play this out. And I think it's going against them, which is great. And we just need to keep going with it.
Agreed. Yeah. So anything else, Dave? You got anything else on that topic? Because I mean, we pretty much said it all. I think it's awesome that's happening around the world. People are starting to wake up. I think it's fascinating how it's being reported. And it's that typical, I mean, what I talked about on chat, Saul Alinsky, rule for radicals. Let's call her out before we realize that all she's doing is asking for the freedom to think rationally.
Yeah.
And to be family oriented, have her beliefs, and to be proud to be an Italian. That's what she's saying. And it's being deemed so ridiculous.
Yeah, I love one quote where far right is now defined by the extreme left as anyone who opposes the extreme left.
There's no other way to say it. And we'll you know what? I think we'll go do that'll ease into our next conversation. This branding that we have, the Ultra Maga branding that all of us have been given, and that how we're being deemed dangerous. Kaecey, we today, perfect example. What you had to do today, I don't know how much you could talk about it, but how you had to answer questions. No, can't talk about it. Don't want to talk.
No,
about it.
We can cover it. I'm not going to go into extreme detail, but we can talk about it. Yeah.
Go for it.
So what Russo's talking about is I'm going through, and I have to, for my job, I got to go through and fill out some government clearance questions and stuff. And it's quite hilarious how things are phrased. So, for example, one of the questions is, have I ever participated or been associated with a terrorist group to overthrow the U.S. government? That is literally a question I have to answer yes or no to. And one of the things that I said, I took a picture of it and sent it to Russo, and I was like, under whose definition am I a terrorist? Because the current administration, I would be labeled a terrorist because I don't fit their mold of who they want me to be. And if it was any other administration, I wouldn't be considered one. And so it's quite ridiculous when I have to answer these questions about my actions and who I am. And a lot of these, I'm sure, are new since J6. And that's why they're saying to overthrow the U.S. government, because I don't envision any of these questions being asked before.
J6 commission starts back up tomorrow on daytime TV, because why the F not? Cool. What do you think about being deemed an Ultra Maga, Barb?
Again, it's just more ridiculousness, right? It just keeps like one layer of bullshit on top of another, on top of another. What else they want to call us? I don't think any of us are offended by any of what they call. I think it's more a reflection on them. I'm just more disgusted by people who are throwing this out there and slinging mud at us just because we believe in faith, family, country. Faith, family, freedom. Like those are our premises, and that makes us an extremist. That makes us an ultra MAGA. I mean, if I will say all day long, faith, family, freedom are really important to me, right? And if that makes me an ultra MAGA, that makes me an extremist, then I'll slap that label on there if you want, and I'll wear it proudly if that's what you think I am. But I think they're losing out by doing this. I think all the people who are just running to follow the latest trend and do what these like the people making NyQuil chicken, right? Like that's what these people do. Like, okay, I'm gonna pour NyQuil on chicken and cook that now, right? So now we're supposed to call them ultra MAGAs. Now we're supposed to call them extremists. Okay, I'll do that too. These people are eating NyQuil chicken, right? And that's just like I don't think we're gonna be able to stop that. So we have to just elevate ourselves and lead by example.
Or doing the Packy one chip challenge. One of the, whatever.
Yeah.
That did, I'm gonna give a quick curveball because I forgot to tell the full story on the Prather show because I talked about it. So the funny thing was the day after, for those that didn't see my video, I ate the Packy one chip challenge, and I really my crap the next day was not actually that bad, but when it came hard. Barb, don't look at me like this. We're
literally talking about ultra MAGA and
this is an ultra movement.
I literally just said, let's elevate ourselves, right? And you're like, oh, my crap didn't like.
It's called a little bit of it's comic relief in the bullshit, Barb.
Is that what it is? By the way, we're on the chat.
You brought up the NyQuil chicken, so I had to follow it up with the dumbasses like me that ate the Packy chip.
Do you people see what I'm dealing with? Do you see? I'm the only chick here. This is why I bring wine to the shows. Just saying. Ariana.
I'll do that again. I have sound effects now. I don't know how they work, but we'll get there. So anyways, to make a long story longer, because Barb just keeps interrupting. So the funny thing was I had to rent a car the next morning. I was leaving Little Rock, and I said how I had to go to the bathroom while I was in line. But I forgot to mention it just started out as a miserable day because I landed in Chicago, went to go get my rental car, and then went to the bathroom, the gender-neutral bathroom that apparently didn't have a lock working. And I forgot that I was literally watching like news or videos on the can, and a nice Latino woman opened the door while I'm just sitting there. So I'm having a spicy ass crap. The door's wide open. I'm getting looked at. There is no further level of shame. So that was my unfortunate byproduct of the Packy one chip challenge. It was a spicy.
Can we just show some comments here? Who here feels their life is enriched by knowing Anthony's shitter story here? Do we all feel?
Who feels their life is enriched now that Barb is no longer on the screen?
You're sexy. Moved me from the street.
I was waiting for her to call me for help.
Asshole.
Dave.
Is that easy, Dave?
Back to the conversation at hand. Dave, what do you, in terms of Ultra MAGA, what is your thought process on this whole thing?
So look, Ultra MAGA is not Ultra Trump, right? Let's make the distinction, okay? Like, I'm proud. I wear the Ultra MAGA with a badge of honor. Like, it's Make America Great Again. And I never really was big on that term anyway. I'm just like, how about Make America Great for everybody? Like, maybe that would be more of a better tagline. But that's kind of like the same.
Except the communists.
The same concept. We just want. We want people to be able to have individual liberty and freedom, go after their American dream, pursue more out of life, care about America's core values. The family, I think, is a huge part of this because the family dynamic in this country is continuing to kind of fall apart with high divorce rates and everything else. Look, I've never been a religious person per se. I've always had faith. And so God can mean a lot of different things to everybody. And that's why it's in our Constitution. God doesn't necessarily mean, Jesus, right? It's just a higher power. And right now we have a society that's becoming secular. It's becoming very humanistic. Government is replacing God. And I think that's why you see this systematic breakdown of our society and all the issues, the crime and, the gender stuff that's going on. And I mean, you name it, you go across the board. To me, that's the problem, is big government gets too big and replaces all of those that higher institution, that higher power where, it's the state, right? You have to listen to the state. You have to obey the state. And COVID was a great trial run for them to push all this through. But I think people are waking up. Like the power will always be with us. We'll always, have more power than the people who are in power. And I think that's you're starting to see that.
Agreed.
Let's not forget that fascism requires an all authoritarian government, right? That dictates all of your rules and what you can do, what you can eat, where you can go. Like who is trying to implement all that, right?
That's a great.
Right. We want more freedom. We want less taxes, and we want to be left alone. Like who doesn't want that?
That's $1 million question. And who's, because we know it's not Biden, it's not basements, it's probably not even Soros. We don't even know who it is, but there's people that are making this very odd. The Klaus Schwabs of the world. Who knows who's doing it? Because there's nothing in a freedom thinking society that thinks the direction we're going in is the right direction. And like you said, Dave, you said it perfect. The Ultra Maga, and I've done a lot of radio shows on this talking about what is MAGA? Is MAGA Trump? Is DeSantis is MAGA in this new day and age. Carrie Lake is MAGA. Anybody that is like the ideals that you just brought up, Dave, that is what MAGA is. So no, we're not ultra Trumpers, and everybody's going to come in and slam us like, you guys love Trump, blah, blah, blah. Not true. We are simply people that believe in the American idea, which is what America was founded on, and it is. It's the only country or institution like this in the world that was founded on an idea, and that's what it is, and that's what we stay true to. All right, we're gonna move on. The next topic is going to be Netflix, but before then, quick little break. As you guys probably have seen on my blunt force discussion, if you're not following it yet, I need some more followers on the YouTube. We're getting close to monetization. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, make sure you're following. We got Chad O. Jackson coming up this week. Chad O. Jackson is one of the creators of Uncle Tom 2. He was in the first one. He's also in the second one. He's actually one of the producers on it. Did a great job. A movie that will change your paradigm on Martin Luther King, on civil rights movement, on a whole bunch of different issues. So make sure you follow Blunt Force Discussion on the YouTube so you can catch that. Absolutely brilliant guy. He texted me, he said, great job on Prather. I said, the only reason he said that is because I said that he was a brilliant dude, and that's why. But it is a great episode. I think you guys will enjoy it. So make sure you're following Blunt Force Discussion. That will be on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. And one of our main sponsors on the show that all of us know, especially Barb and Dave, that she helped with the first event. Please, I know Nikki buys their hair products. I am actually a market partner with them, and we use their affiliates.
I buy their hair products too.
You do the sheen, the Afro sheen. But no, guys, please check it out. Their hair products, actually, they make your hair feel great. Now they've even got hair regrowth for dudes. I can't say enough, honestly. Honestly, I typically don't care. I'll say honestly 37 times. Who cares? But go to bluntforce.mymonate.com if you are interested in making side money, which Tony Watley, Side Hustle Millionaire, is the episode after Chad O. Jackson. If you want to learn about side money, might as well look at some of these network marketing companies. So the link is on the bottom, bluntforce.mymonate.com if you want to buy something. They're great products. And then if you want to talk about being a partner, just email me at bluntforcediscussion@gmail.com. All right. Back to business. Let's talk about Netflix. Netflix, first off, has anybody seen, I haven't watched it yet. Kelly's making me watch it before she even thinks about it. Has anybody seen the new Jeffrey Dahmer biopic that's coming out?
No. Nope.
Has anybody in the comments seen the Jeffrey Dahmer biopic? Say yes, say no, whatever. I want to watch it. So little people may not know this. I lived in Milwaukee. My apartment that I lived at was whatever. It was across the street from the Ambassador Hotel, which 8 years before that is where Jeffrey Dahmer kept all of the human heads in his freezer. And he would lure young men back before there was Tinder to essentially grind them, if you know what I mean. So I've always been interested in Dahmer because it happened like right where I used to live in Milwaukee. So I want to watch it. We're seeing Jen Farah said yes. We have one person. No, never heard of Jeffrey. You've heard of Jeffrey Dahmer, haven't you guys?
Yeah, well, you know what kind of ice cream they found in his freezer, right?
No.
Hey, don't.
A gallon of Ben and Jerry's.
Oh, that was good. No, hold on.
No, it was too much.
No,
I'm gonna jump in here and be the whatever, the downer. I don't know how I could be a downer talking about Jeffrey Dahmer because it is a downer. But when I see this and I see that everybody, the focus is on the LGBTQ label smacked on there, and the uproar is over that. For me, I don't, maybe just because of my life experiences and my perspective, what I think about are the victims' families. How many shows do we need on this? And the write-up that I read on it says that it is filmed from the victim's perspective. Are there 17 episodes for the 17 victims? Is that what it is? I don't know. But so imagine what it is like for a second to have, even to pop on this, and we're all good people, we're all good, but even to hear like good people making lighthearted jokes about this. This is somebody you love, that you love, and you've listened, you sat in a courtroom and you listened to this, and like, where has our humanity gone? Why is this all like, this is not entertainment. It's one thing if the series is educational, if it adds something, but all the true crime shows, and I watch a lot of them, right? But not the ones that are like voyeuristic and really just out there to like, if it bleeds, it leads kind of thing. So my heart goes that when I see this, I feel for the victims' families. It must be fucking awful to have this out there and portrayed, and to see that all people are upset about is the LGBTQ. So now they're not even talking about the victims; they're talking about the LGBTQ label. So now your husband, your brother, your son, your cousin, your best friend, they don't even matter. What matters is the stupid LGBTQ controversy over this. So
that's a good point, Barb.
It is a good point. And honestly, it's interesting you said that, because they've talked about how, because it's a biopic, which if anybody doesn't know what a biopic means, it's a documentary filmed with real people. So it's a movie / documentary. And the victims' families did say that they are getting, like, they finally were over it, and this is bringing it back up to them. So
they found a peace with it. They found a way to live with it, right? And now you're just ripping this right open.
Because it sells. Because it sells. And
I think the tag was stupid. Like, I mean, why do you don't? It's not something you need to tag. Like, this is Jason Redman says this best. Like, our society has become so divided by these communities, right? When we forgot that we're a part of one big community, that's the United States of America, that's Americans. So what we should be concerned about is that evil exists like this. I mean, we should be reminded of it, and we should be sympathetic with the families that, you know, that had to go through this. But it has nothing to do with that community. It's just some evil, twisted F who killed a lot of people and was pure evil.
I find it very, very odd, and this is a great comment, that from the victim's perspective, what does that mean? Like, it's also, again, just such a weird, all of it is. But again, it sells, and that's what they're doing. And the last thing, because the reason we brought it up is it's a crappy look at human life. It shows the level that we'll go. Like, we went from Tiger King, which was a little bit more fun and lighthearted, to this is this month's Tiger King. And the weird thing is, first off, the fact that you have to like slap a label on it, the LGBTQ label, and then remove the tag because it leaves a negative connotation, also just makes it even more weird. Anybody have any thoughts on that, or should we just wrap that part up?
Let's just roll on.
Hold on, wait. I'll ask again and then just be quiet. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, someone commented, how are they? They're assuming how the victims felt. How do they know? I mean, I think that maybe that was directed towards you, Barb. I mean, you would know.
Well, right. So the write-up I saw that said that the series is based on the victim's perspective, right? So how do they know? I don't know how they know, and I won't probably know because I don't think that I'll be watching this one. You know, I know Jeffrey Dahmer. I have a master's in criminal justice. I studied these cases, right? I know all I need to know for my life. I know all I need to know about Jeffrey Dahmer and what he did. Like, there's no value will be added to my life. I won't be able to make an impact or do anything better by watching this series. So, you know, I won't be watching it. I don't know.
So if I watch it, I'm not going to tell anybody. Excellent. Thanks, Mom. Okay. Let's go to we'll end on all the young deaths. First, let's go to the Wawa incident. I know a lot of you guys have probably seen this. Why it was so easy the way that I had it before. Where's libs? There it is.
Where is it, Russo?
There it is. So this is at a Wawa in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. There's obviously a girl twerking up on the stage. If you're watching on your phone, you can't see it. On the stage, I mean the cash register. I'm walking out of here. This girl's trying to order a sandwich. So she says, are y'all going to make a sandwich? Or are you going to keep on filming? Because at this point, she's actually thinking that she might pay for the sandwich. I don't know. This is the destruction that happened.
Bro, Brooke is out here! Bro, come here!
I'm not going to lie. I hate those Nazi parties. It's just terrible. I hate when, those crazy white kids. This is, again, you're looking at one example, but we know the Philly conservative. I know some of you guys follow him on Instagram. He shows a lot of what happens in Philly. If Philly, just like Chicago, just like even New York, has gone to complete shit. And the mainstream media is going to ignore stuff like this. And I hate showing it because it does paint this awful blanket picture. But the reason I think it's important to see is we do not live in a white supremacist or a oppressive country, because if that was the case, this shit would not happen, because there would be cops killing all of these kids, plain and simple. And I think that seeing this behavior and the fact that we've let it run this far, I don't know what the solution is, but shit, if something doesn't change, people don't. I have friends in Chicago. They live on a very wealthy street. They don't feel safe to walk their dog around the block anymore. What do we do?
I don't know. I think I don't think anything can be done until these people who are allowing these policies to happen. I'm imagining that once upon a time the police would have been in there arresting these people, but with all the stand down orders that they've been given and all the trouble they get into for doing their jobs, and I think in some places they're even forbidden from arresting these people, right? It has to be a certain class of crime, and this doesn't meet that class of crime. And then you're going to have the other, bleeding heart liberal politicians out there saying, well, these poor people are just doing this to survive. They have no choice because it is a white supremacist society. So that's what these people have been forced to do in order to live, in order to eat, in order to provide for themselves. They have no choice but to do that because they've been so oppressed, because they are so downtrodden. And that's the fault of white supremacy. So they will spin it like that.
Look, I feel like they should play this video at the January 6th hearing tomorrow, because that's exactly what happened. Like, this happens all the time. It's happened all the time throughout history, where you have 2, 3, 4, 5 people create an event like this, and then it's a bum rush into the building, and everyone starts looting and pillaging and acting irresponsibly, while the rest of society is outside perfectly behaving. The one lady at the end of that video, she asked the guy over the counter, are you still making sandwiches? Like, she just wanted a damn sandwich. And these people are flooding and ransacking the place. Like, it only takes a handful of people to ruin it for the rest of us. Look at what's going on through our society right now. It's a perfect example of all of it.
But she knew that she wasn't going to pay for this. She was just being honestly, she was being an asshole. She knew there was no place to pay anymore. She's just like, I want a sandwich. Like, she was there's no way a rational human being thinks that. And I have to answer this question, or if somebody else wants it. It's not an income problem. I've got news for you. It's not a fucking income problem. It is and sorry, Nancy, for the F word, but if you're watching again, there is a lot of people that are in worse means than this, wearing less clothes, that don't go rob a convenience store. We have allowed this to happen. Illinois, for example, in the beginning of 2023 is instituting a law where people will, where there are certain things you can't even be arrested for anymore. And these are offenses that are pretty damn bad. And it's just, we've allowed this shit to go on too far. So no, it's not an income problem. That's not an excuse. And even saying those words makes this situation worse.
But income is part of the problem, Anthony. Like, so, so in other words, it's the stacking effect. It's the compound effect of everything that we've had to deal with. And these inner cities had to deal with even worse because they weren't allowed to go to restaurants. They weren't allowed to do all these things, the defund the police. It affected these communities far above, beyond the rest of us. And it was that compound effect, that beating that they kept taking. And you can beat long enough, something's going to break. And that's what we're starting to see. I'm not making an excuse for it, but this is why we talk about, like, what's happening is it's designed this way. Like this, like they, so I'm not apologizing for them. I'm not condoning it. It's wrong, but it's what we've had to deal with over the last 2 years. People have gotten freaking fed up.
I'll 100% agree with you, but I'm not going to say it's an income problem. I think it's
not
the evolution of society.
No.
What is what we're saying? I mean, again, and I clip this part out, but you don't see a bunch of white people doing that. It's because we have just done, like, we have this apologist history and version where again we're allowing lawlessness out of the sake of social justice, and I think that is a problem. But I agree with you. We've bottled, and we'll talk about it real quick with all the young people dying. There's so many catastrophic elements to the COVID pandemic and the lockdowns. This is a byproduct. I don't see income being part of it.
Right.
Kaecey, you got anything before we move on?
Yeah, I'm gonna add a little bit to this. Like, this is what you get when you actually have a government that is over the city that doesn't care. They have seen crime rates rise since COVID started to disappear, and they aren't doing anything about it. They are also just all worried about themselves because they have a lot of major elections. They have a big election coming up that this entire state would change. Philadelphia in general, Pennsylvania in general, could change significantly in the 2022 election. And with this change that could happen, they're so worried, the current government and people that are in power now are worried about re-election, and they're not worried about taking care of what's going on in their cities and to be able to provide to the people that they serve for. That is where the problem's coming from. This is why, and everybody knows, a lot of people know my opinion on Dr. Oz. He should not even be in consideration for running. But what other option do you have? You don't have very solid options. So you have to go with a big name that can compete. And he's from TV, so that's what you're going to get. Now, is he better than Fetterwoman? Yes. Because he can complete a sentence.
The unfortunate stroke victim, which is very sad, but he is not cognitively ready to be in that position, period. Like, it's scary to watch him at his campaign stuff. He sounds worse than Biden, and he's literally rolling up there like he's right out of the hospital in his gym shorts and a hoodie. Barb, real quick, anything else? And we can move on to wrap it up.
No, I'm good on this topic.
Scamp.
Look at my dog in the background with his cone on. He's 16 and he's going hard.
Is that Joe Biden back there? What is that? All right. So last thing we're going to talk about is the vid. We like to leave that closer to the end, just in case. Hopefully the algorithm isn't listening anymore. If anybody does not follow or needs an invite, try to find a way to hit me up, or find a way that somebody knows somebody in it. Do you guys follow Died Suddenly News? Barb, no yawning. No yawning.
I'm not yawning.
Died Suddenly News. I'll invite you three guys. It's up to 300,000 people. They have managed. If anybody in the comments, please let me know if you watch Died Suddenly News. Also, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, we are able to do super chats again. We got that open back up if you guys want to support. So died suddenly news is 300,000 people. They like put carrots instead of the jab. You'll put cookies, like they had 2 cookies. And there is all these stories. And I have gone down the rabbit hole of seeing if these are real people. I'm like, people, is this trolls? Is this a Russian bot? And then going to their Facebook and seeing their friends and family that have been lost. Most of them are strictly related to cardiovascular stuff. Some have been hyper advanced cancer that they were in remission. It came out, and it's just insanity seeing this. Take that off to the side. All the suicides. My phone pops up with celebrities and B-list celebrities, D-list celebrities that are dying every half a day. I get about 2 or 3 a day. At one point, do people not realize that this is tied to either the jab, the lockdowns, or the jab and the lockdowns? Like and they're still pushing boosters. I did a radio show earlier where the commercial before I came on was talking about get your booster, and I almost lost my shit. Like, isn't this a conservative station? Awesome. Are there any large scale statistics? The Department of Defense, the DoD has them. You have to search for them. Pfizer's own data that you won't be able to find anywhere common has them, but you can look for it. And what else?
There's other countries coming out, like Sweden. Sweden's they will not vaccinate anyone under 50 years old because of the side. Like, so there's plenty of information out there if you look at it. A lot of other countries are making not even accusations. They've had studies that show that there are side effects, which, I mean, makes sense. Like, there's side effects. You can't watch a TV show and have a drug commercial come up without 10 side effects that they announce right at the end. So why would this be any different? It's just they got suppressed because they didn't want anyone to get scared of not getting it. My personal opinion, I think the boosters this is just opinion. I have speculation. I just think the boosters have the biggest. That's what's causing all this, because you can't study the long-term effect of getting boosted over and over and over again.
And now they're making it like an every 6 month thing.
Every 6 months, yeah. That's what I saw anyway. I don't know, if that's correct, but that's what I saw.
Anyway, take care of yourself, take care of your body, right? Eat right, get exercise, take immune boosting supplements. Like, that's what I do.
And I know that it's anecdotal, but when there is hundreds of thousands of people posting anecdotally and there is no true statistic to find it, guess what? It is true. I mean, we still talk about Kelly's grandparents. Again, they're in their 90s. It doesn't, you can't really say that, but within 6 months, they each had either a stroke or a heart attack when they both had it. Anyways, any final thoughts on this, Kaecey or Barb?
Yeah. So the big thing is, like, there's a lot that I couldn't say before about this because of my work, my old work. But I did mention in quite a bit, like, we skipped a lot of the trials for releasing it. That is where you find the side effects. That is where you get all of that stuff. So when a product is released to market, it can be listed with said side effects or pull from market. Now that I've said that, if you go back and look at the first trial that was attempted on the Pfizer vaccine, jab, whatever you want to freaking call it, it actually failed because it was actually causing people. It had 1 death during the trial. And so they didn't push it through. Guess what our government had to do? An EUA. They're pushing through, and now Pfizer's asking for another EUA for 5 to 11-year-olds for the booster. Another one. Ask yourself this question when you're considering this jab, is when it comes to this whole scenario, why is it that we're okay running with this now? Initially, an EUA is fine because we need to get it to market to help this situation. Now it's no longer a threat. Our president has even said that. The CDC and all of these people are saying COVID is behind us, pretty much. So why aren't we going back and testing this even further to make sure that it's a quality product to be releasing to people instead of asking for other EUAs and extensions? That is what you should be looking at when it comes to this thing. And no one is. No one's even wanting to talk about it. And an EUA is not authorization that it should be widespread and used the way it is.
Preach. Barb, what do you got to wrap it up? And then we'll do final words and we are out of here.
Yeah, I just find it funny because literally, Kaecey, as you were talking, on my screen popped up an email I got Epic Times. COVID vaccines contaminate breast milk with mRNA, so and it's like just proves that so much stuff is coming out now. And that's what I think. For me, my hesitancy was that I just didn't know. I felt like I didn't need it. That was my decision. I just didn't trust it and how I would react to it. I felt it was too much of an unknown. And that's proving to be true, because now what is coming out is proving that it was not a bad idea to be cautious and to wait. So props to everybody who withstood the pressure and storm to hold off and do what's right for you. And I really hope that we don't see more people impacted by a decision they were coerced into. Like, a lot of my kids were, because they wanted to go to college, and that was it. Like, you can't come onto this campus if you don't have this vaccine. Tell an 18-year-old they have to come stay home or miss their first year of college because of this. And they're going to be like, sign me up. Right. So, I hope that it doesn't come back to haunt more people than it already has.
Yeah. And I've heard with the booster, we're down to like 3% of people are getting their 5th booster. Like, people have started to go, I'm good. Last little quick thing on this, the UK numbers, I think that's the deaths that they had in their country. America had something, pretty similar in terms of the increase. It wasn't that drastic during COVID. So clearly that shows that it's not a million deaths that are just COVID based. But what was interesting is at the end of 2020, I looked at the statistics in January or February. And at that time, there was no difference between 19 and 20. And something happened in the middle of the year where they revised those numbers to show a 400,000 person increase. I thought that was very odd. And I'm like, how do they miss that guidance? And I remember seeing that going, I wish I would have screenshotted the numbers that wrapped up the year before. Cause I think it's a lot of bullshit, a lot of scare tactics. And but one thing I will say is 2021 got worse, and our life expectancy dropped 3 years in the United States of America, which is scary. So the thing that I'm going to say here, and this is our last little branding, is if you guys haven't seen some of the shows with Dr. Artis, I'm going to suggest you guys go there. So I'm also, again, if you want to email Blunt Force Discussion, I also post it once in a while. I'll actually, if you come back to this show later in the comments, I will post a 13-minute video where he talks about his own products, as well as what to do to get rid of, if you did have to take the jab, to do your best to get your glutathione levels up, flush it out, all the different things. We talk about that in a quick 13-minute. I'll make sure to play that, or I'll make sure to put that someplace. It's an unlisted video so that YouTube doesn't freak out about it, but I'll put the link somewhere in the comments. But it's very interesting to see. You can rid your body of the toxins in it. It just takes a long time. And also how to prepare things like he's got Doc's viral defense for COVID, just in general, a lot of stuff, selenium, quercetin, all that stuff. So check out that website, use BFD at checkout for 10% off. We are doing a roundtable, 10-15 seconds, final words, and then we'll wrap this show up. We're almost on time. Kaecey, we're going to you.
It's good to be back, guys. Happy to be back and doing this stuff again, sharing all this information, but I don't really have a whole lot tonight.
Barb.
Yeah, what he said. Good to be back with you, Yahoos. I missed hanging out, and let's just keep it going. I don't know. I got nothing else. It's late.
Dave, what do you got?
Yeah, it was a fun show. I look forward to continuing doing these, and I encourage everyone, if you're interested in what we're doing at the Great American Summit Syndicate, to jump in, check it out, sign up for a monthly membership, $4.99. Join us annually for a year. You get a free ticket to the Great American Summit, a VIP ticket at that. It's a great event. There's probably a lot of people here in the chat who went to last year's summit. We had incredible speakers. And again, we're building a community. I like to say we're building a family. So if you want to be a part of that family, we'd love to have you.
Exactly. As for Mo, she might do a couple episodes. She's got no problem coming back. She's building her own brand with Let's Talk Darling. Make sure you follow her. But then, yes, Mo will be spot things, and that leads to the final thing of how the show is going to work. So I'm getting back in the swing. I haven't done live shows in a while. Obviously, I just do the lives. As a heads up, if you guys can't see it right now, but I have a whole new office. So I'm going to be doing regular shows That'll be just blunt force truths. That'll be throughout the day. Part of the Truth Will Set You Free and blunt force discussion. Essentially just doing news. I have the ability to do call-ins. Haven't figured out how that works yet. And then for this show, we will. But yeah, I'm going to be as regular as humanly possible. I am ridiculously excited about this space. It'll probably be a rush hour show, and talk to you guys from like 5 to 6 a couple nights a week. And I'll field questions and field topics. We will be having guests on the show. It's not just going to be us 4. And if one of us can't make it, whatever happens, there'll be guests. So sometimes it'll be 5, sometimes it'll be 6. It'll be run just like this. And we'll even be a little bit shorter. Make sure that you either join greatamericansyndicate.com, or you join Blunt Force Discussions Patreon, or Be the Change USA's Patreon. Any of those, if you're on one of them, we'll make sure you have a link when we start doing the 30-minute after show. And hopefully you'll have some great guests. You know, we've made friends, Bobby Sauce, Chad Prather, who else? Chad O. Jackson. We'll have some people on the show that we can have a little 10-minute segment with, have a little bit of fun, run it more like the 5, more like a news show. And I hope you guys liked it. Please give feedback of what you think about the new format, all these good things. Jamie, you are not just late. You are here at the end of the show. So you are going to have to replay. But again, we're looking at 6 o'clock Central every week. That will be the goal. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening. It has been so long since I did this. I forgot how we typically wrapped up the show. Anybody remember? What do I hit? I don't even do thanks for watching.
First of all, you stop talking. Then you hit end broadcast.
Yeah. Something like
Peace,
that.
everybody.
Bye.